that okay? Can you hear me? Great. My name is Danny Hara, and you've met most of our team here. There's so many of them. But anyways, today we're going to do Senior Living Options 3.0. Why do we call it 3.0? Because we've been doing this for 20 years. And we've evolved in our training and exposure to the consumer. But today we're going to talk more about what your senior living options are and what kind of decisions you can make as you get older, right? What's going to happen today is there's going to be a lot of information. It might be a little overwhelming. At the end of today's time, you'll be having an opportunity to schedule some time with us. I travel a lot. In fact, I'm leaving today for Palm Beach for another training that I'm teaching out in Florida. But you'll have some opportunity to sit with us to maybe discuss your plans and options, okay? So a little bit about myself. I've been a realtor for over 20 years. We've closed over $1 billion of real estate. We've sold a lot of real estate. We've been in the top 100 for pretty much that amount of time. We've served a lot of older adults, and a lot of older adults that we've talked to had more than one property. How many of you have more than one property? Right? Okay, so some of you do. For those of you who do, there's a tool that we use. It's called a 1031 exchange. And I became the national trainer of 1031 exchanges. I've done over 400 of these things, and I've never failed one. And because of that, I've traveled the country. Last year, I was gone 167 days around the United States, traveling to every metropolitan city. This year, we cut it down to about 130, so we stayed home a little bit more. But so I became a national trainer and coach, helping families build wealth, protect wealth, and then pass on wealth, and creating real estate plans. So yes, we're realtors, but we're much more than that because we create plans for folks because it's really important that we steward our wealth in the best way we can, right? I surf every day, and that's why they say I'm a 62-year-old surf rat. And I'm writing a book, and this book is called Death, Taxes, and Family Destruction. Why is that? Because we see too much of it. Did you know that 70% of families fight over something after their parents pass? And that something is oftentimes real estate, mainly because you can't divide real estate. And so today we're going to talk very little about that, but just want to give you a little bit of background. So what are we going to cover today? How do you know when it's time to move? How do you know? Because most of us want to stay home as long as we can, right? We're going to talk about that. And what are your living options? Where can you go? And how much does that cost? And what does life look like? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about services after, if at some point in time that you may need care, right? And then what should you do with your home or your rental properties? What should you be doing with them? And we're going to give you some options to talk about. And then when should you start planning, right? Planning is really big in our world. We have a whole community. I teach over 450 real estate agents all over the country in every state in a community called KW Real Estate Planner, where we help them we're teaching agents how to teach their clients how to plan better with their real estate, okay? So what I've found over the last 20 years is that there's only two types of people. There's a proactive person and a reactive person. See, most people want to stay home as long as they can until they can't, right? It's kind of like a light bulb. We never know when that light bulb's going to go out. We never know when we can't stay home. We never know when a health incident's going to impact us where it becomes problematic at home. And so that person typically says, I'm going to stay here until I can't. And unfortunately, we've had so many reactive folks that we've had to service. One of our gentlemen that came to one of our events here many years ago said, Dan, don't worry about it, I'm okay. And then I get a call from him a number of months later. And the call was, hey, Dan, I need to see you. Can you come and help me? I said, sure, I can come and help you. Where are you? I said, well, I'm in the hospital. I said, well, why are you in the hospital for? He said, just come and I'll tell you more about it. So I show up in the hospital bed, and this gentleman, he was probably about 82 years old. He fell in his home and broke his hip. But fortunately, he was alive. See, because he fell and broke his hip on Saturday. On Sunday, he didn't show up at church. On Monday, the pastor came to see him, and they found him on the ground with a broken hip. He says to me while at his bed in the hospital, he said, Dan, I'll never be able to see my home again. He has stairs in his home. He broke his hip, and his doctor said he'll never walk again. And that's the reactive person. And I'm not here to tell you to scare you. I'm here to share real life experiences from the lens of the world that we see it from. And our goal is to not let that happen. But we can't control the decisions you make. You're going to make your own decisions. We hope to empower you to make good decisions and be the proactive person. What does a proactive person look at? Well, the proactive person says, I know I'm getting older and I know I'm going to need help at some point, and I'm going to get to that space and live a life where it's comfortable and safer. So another story that I want to share with you is another lady that came to one of our events just like this, and she says, I'm okay, and she was in her 70s. Seemed really healthy, retired, played golf with her husband, until I get another phone call from her, and she says, I need to see you. I said, so what happened? She says, my husband just died. Those are the hardest conversations to have. Knowing that I could have had an impact on that person's life to prevent that from happening, but in hindsight, there's no way I could have had that because people are going to make their own decisions. He fell and he hit his head on the ground in his own backyard picking a papaya. He was on a ladder, he fell. It was a random accident. But this person had to deal with her stuff all by herself. She had 2 children. They both were busy. They never showed up. One was on the mainland, one was here. She never came to help. None of their kids came to help her. She's in her home that she lived in, that she renovated with her husband for 55 years. And now she has to do it alone by herself. And that was really tough. I left that home every day in tears, knowing how difficult it is for people to do this, that we have chosen to be the lighthouse for people to see that there's other ways to take this, man. It's so much easier. Well, think about it this way. If you've been married for a long time, is it easier to move when you're younger or older? Younger, of course. Well, how come we don't make that decision? Because we think we're going to be invincible. We think we're going to be okay. We think we want to stay there until we can't. And unfortunately, those folks that can't, we get those phone calls. And it's a tough experience for us. We would prefer that people move together while they're healthy. They do this journey together. It's almost like every other move that you've made, you're doing it together as a couple. But when you do it alone, it's very challenging. And I only share this story because you get to choose. It's your choice. It's your life. I don't get to impact that. But what I can do is share with you the good and bad of being proactive or reactive. So how do you know when it's time to move? I get calls like this all the time. I want to stay home, but my kids say I got to move. Or I want to stay home, but man, my knees are bad, or my hips are bad. And I want to stay home, but the house is so big. I want to stay home, but the mango trees are getting too big, and there's just all this stuff going on in your life, right? So the question is your home too large now that the kids are gone? Maybe you have a 3, 4, or 5 bedroom home, and now the kids aren't here, and they're never going to come back again. Or is your home or yard too much work to maintain? You know, that mango tree is too big, the gutters are broken, the air conditioning is broken, whatever it might be. Are you tired of cooking and cleaning? Anybody tired of cooking and cleaning? Good, my wife's not here. She'd be the first to raise her hand. Yeah, at some point that becomes kind of humbug, as my mom would say. Yeah, because we used to cook for our family, and then now when the kids are gone, we're cooking for each other, and then after a while it's, hey, Foodland, and the store is so much easier, right? Does your home have too many steps? We have a client that bought a 2-story home against my suggestion because he was, at the time he did buy this townhouse, it was 2 stories, he was okay, and now he's not. And the problem is do you have a bathroom downstairs? See, if you don't have a bathroom downstairs, guess what? We got to take a bath. A half bath doesn't do it. You're going to have a problem. Are you living alone and concerned about security? We had a client that called us and said that, Dan, I don't want to stay home anymore. My husband passed away. I live in a big house and a big lot, and I hear noises at night, and it concerns me. And so she said, what do I do? I said, well, do you want to involve the kids? So we said, we got the kids together. There were 4 of the children, and the children are my age. And I said, hey, mom doesn't want to stay here, so there's a couple options. One of you guys can move in, and you should have seen them like, okay, I'm not here, and don't bother me, I'm busy, right? Because your kids, your loved ones, they have their own life too. And some of us think that, and I've had clients tell me, don't worry about me because my kids are going to take care of me. And do they know this? Do they know what they're going to sign up for? Do they know how to transport people? We had trouble with my mother-in-law where we thought we could do it until we realized, like, hey, one mistake of transferring somebody from her bed to a chair, you could break their hip. Are you trained for that? This is the hardest question is, would you like to make your own decisions about when and where your next move will be? Or do you want to leave that up to somebody else? How many of you know what the Office of Public Guardian is? The Office of Public Guardian, yeah. Very few people know that you pay taxes to a division, a department in our state that's designed to take care of people who cannot take care of themselves. OPG, the Office of Public Guardian, we started serving a state office about 15 years ago. What do? They help people who can't take care of themselves. So just imagine you know your neighbor across the street, you see her all the time, we'll call her Mrs. Wong and say, Mrs. Wong, you see her all the time, and then one day you just don't see her. And she comes outside to clear the leaves out and take the newspaper, but one day you see she didn't do that. And you think, maybe she's sick today. You go off on your own busyness and you come back. The next day you see there's 2 newspapers there. Now you're concerned. Like, oh, that's never happened before. You walk across the street, you knock on her door and you say, Mrs. Wong, are you okay? And you don't hear her, but you hear her TV. You see her car in the garage. You know she's home. She's not responding. What do you do next? Well, you call the police. Say there's something wrong. The police are going to come and do the same thing until they knock on her door until she doesn't respond. They will break her door down to get to her. In most of these homes we help with OPG, we have to fix that door. That's how I know. That's how they got in. And unfortunately, sometimes it's too late. Sometimes they've expired in their own home. Ladies and gentlemen, this happens way more than you can imagine. And it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible to hear somebody dying in their own home because of an accident. But it happens. And so I'm here to say with you that you could be this person that reacts and show up that way, or you can be the proactive person that says, I'm going to make a decision while I can, I'm going to move while I can, I'm going to live in a safe environment while I can, where I get cooking and cleaning, and I get care if I need it. Because in the event if my spouse and I pass away, there's care already built in. And that's why we've been fans of retirement communities. That's why we've been doing this for 20 years now, because we believe that that's one of your better options while you're independent enough to do so. Right? One of the biggest challenges we're all going to face is memory loss. Right? See, today's technology, they'll keep us alive a lot longer. Right? Technology today is so advanced that they're going to keep our bodies alive. One of my friends who's a pastor, he had a heart attack, and I got a text string about some friends, and they said, oh, Norman got a heart attack. I go, oh gosh. And all I could see in my head was the doctor cutting his chest open, opening it up, fixing him, and he's in the hospital for weeks on end. That's not how it happened. He went in that day, they put a hole in his vein, they ran a wire all the way up into his heart, they put a stent in, which is a balloon into his valve. They pulled it out, he walked out of the hospital that day. Doctors are going to keep you around longer. This, there's no solution to. That's on you. You must keep your mind sharp. We call that, and doctors will call that cerebral stimulation. And you're going to start losing that the longer you stay home by yourself. And that's why we're fans of retirement communities. Why? You're going to have 3 meals a day. You're going to talk to people. You're going to keep your mind sharp. You're going to do activities. That's why we're fans of them. Because we have to do our own work to keep our mind sharp. Right? Our bodies, the doctors can take care of most of that. So what are my living options? Well, you can age in place and stay home or live with a loved one. You could do that. That's an option, right? You could downsize to a smaller house or condo. Many of our younger baby boomers, my age and maybe retirees, are doing that. They're selling their large house, moving to a condo or a townhouse. That's why Kaka'aku's got so many of these things, right? Adult residential care homes is typically not going to be an option that you choose, but it will be a place that some of you will go. This is a care home. This is when you've decided to not make your own decisions and somebody placed you there. Because it's going to be a house somewhere on the island with up to 5 residents. You'll have your own room and you're going to have your own room. But you'll have care there. You're going to have food there. You'll be protected there. Then there's retirement communities. Retirement communities are where we believe people thrive, where people live a life that they desire. Something that might be uncomfortable in the beginning, right? Because we're not used to this change. But when you get there, when I talk to clients that have moved in, because we moved in hundreds of people into every retirement community in this state, on this island, we have them there. So if you want to talk to somebody in one of these communities, just let us know. We will connect you to them. So there's 2 types of retirement communities. One is a CCRC. It's a continuing care retirement community. What that means is you got to put an entry fee down. By the way, there's only 3 of those in our state. Kahalanui, 15 Craigside, and Arcadia. 15 Craigside and Arcadia are sister companies. Arcadia is the oldest in the state. They're 56 years old, I believe, now. Kahalanui is the most expensive. You know where that is. It's in Kahala, obviously. Has anybody visited one of these, Kahalanui or 15 Craigside? Yeah, they're nice, right? People to go to Kahalanui, they look like they go to Kahalanui. There's no judgment here, please. But hey, there's something for everybody, right? And each community is a little different, and we know them. 15 Craigside, when they were started to be built in Hawaii, before the tower was completed, they came to us and they asked us to help their clients move in. Because I, at that time, had a company called Senior Move Managers, where we help people downsize, declutter, and move. 180 units in that building. We moved in over 100 families in 2 years in that one building. And we sold most of those properties because people sold it to buy in there, right? It's an entry fee. You got to pay an entry fee. What does that look like? As low as maybe $400,000 to $1.6 million, just to get the key. Just to get the, and then after that, you're going to pay a monthly fee of anywhere from as low as $6,000 to $12,000, depending on the size of your unit. But what they do is it's called a CCRC, Continuing Care Retirement Community. What that means is they guarantee take care of you for life. Yeah. You will never have to move. This is your last resting space. They guarantee take care of you, even if you run out of money. But guess what? You won't run out of money. You know why? Because they'll make sure you don't run out of money. They're going to do a financial review every year to make sure you're not willfully giving your money away. Because if you're willfully giving your money away, they're going to kick you out. Because it's in the contract. Because I read it. Okay. They're going to do a financial review to make sure that you qualify. And then they're going to do a health benchmark to make sure you have to be ambulatory to move into these. So if you desire to go into Kahalanui, 15 Craigside, and Arcadia, and you're fine, and then you're on the waiting list, like Kahalanui, that's a 6-year waiting list now. Used to be 5 years, 6 years now. Yeah. Depending on which unit you get, could be even longer. But so let's say you're on the waiting list, you put your $10,000 down as a down payment to reserve your spot in line, and something bad happens. It could just be a simple car accident, and you're not ambulatory, you won't get in. You're just not. So if you're thinking of this model, then you're going to want to go in earlier. You want to go in as soon as you can because you want to live that life long as you can, right? Right. So that's that. Now, then there's month-to-month rentals. No large entry fees, kind of like this place here. This is the farthest east that we have. This is the Ivy, which is new ownership. And I don't know if you've been here. Anybody been here like 5 years ago? Yeah. It's completely different. Well, you're going to see the food completely different. And the service is better here. Everything they've upgraded with the new ownership. Plaza is the largest chain of them. There's 7 of them all over the island. Windward Side, Mililani, Pearl City, in town, Waikiki. You have that. They're the largest. They're more vertical living. This is more horizontal living, meaning this is the largest campus you'll ever find in the state of Hawaii for a retirement community. If you were to walk around it, I think it's like a mile. I mean, you could literally walk around this entire place safely, right? Let's see. Pohainani on the windward side, a little bit older, right? We're doing an event there next month. Yeah, we're doing one next month there in Pohainani. If you want to see that, please join us. Let's see. Ilima Lehano, which is out on the windward side, west side. It's the most expensive month-to-month rental that you're going to get. And it's nice. I mean, it's upper end quality food, finishing services. They have a memory care there as well. And then there's a Kalakaua Gardens on Kalakaua. So it's just outside of Waikiki, vertical living. It has a continuum of care, but there's not a fee for that until you need that care. So they're a month-to-month rental that has skilled nursing all the way to the end, right, within the same, and it has memory care as well. Right? And so we have clients in all of these communities. If you ever are curious, just holler, we'll see if we can help. Most are gonna have assisted living services, not all of them will. But almost all of them have a contracted service that you can hire for that assisted living service. Like in this place, there's assisted living, there's not skilled nursing, right? Skilled nursing is when you have an open wound, a tracheotomy, wound care, anywhere you've got an open wound, that's called skilled nursing, right? And we had a client that came here mainly because this is the largest spaces you're gonna ever find in a retirement community chain in the state. And she came here, we helped her move in, and she said, it's okay because I'll bring in care. She ended up bringing care in when she needed it. She stayed here until her demise. She went all the way to hospice here, right? Just bringing care in, right? Why? Because she didn't want a small place. So everyone has their choice, doesn't matter, right? And then you can bring your own skilled care in. So there's different levels of care. You're all independent today, but there will be a point that in time, should we be blessed to live long enough, that you'll need assisted living, right? You'll need assistance with some care. Right? And then, should you be blessed to live long enough, you will likely need skilled nursing as well at some point in time. Right? We're gonna live longer than you think. In fact, our generation, your generation, has lived longer than the previous generations, right? Because of medical advancement. Right? Now, the biggest challenge we're all gonna have is memory care. Memory care, as I said earlier, is going to be our biggest problem. And there are a number of communities that have it. And then there's also a number of environments that you can go into that's just memory care, right? Standalone communities. So there's different levels of care. What are your aging in place options? Well, it could be family taking care of family, There's good and bad with everything in life, I believe. The good is it's family taking care of you. Bad is it's family taking care of you. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of not good. I've seen a lot of resentment. I see a lot of what will happen over time is once we start losing our memory facilities, we get edgy. We get frustrated, right? And then we take it on the people nearest to us, the people we love the most. And that's unfortunate. You don't want to leave this planet with your family not loving you anymore, do you? Yeah, that's going to be a challenge that we all at some point may face. You've got home care services that will come in and provide daily services, home health care if you have an intrusion in your body, and then adult day services where you can go out to an environment, stay home and go out to an environment for care during the day while your kids are working, then your kids pick you up and bring you back home. All these are options, right? I'm not here to tell you what's best for you, but when we meet, we can walk you through what could be the best option for you. So what's home care? It's a private company that comes in and takes care of companion services. They have this thing called ADLs, activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, grooming, toileting, continence, mobility. Okay. At some point in our life, we're all going to need something, should we be blessed to live long enough. Right? And then some are going to have limited health care, but really that's just making sure your medicine is taken, make sure you take your temperature, maybe blood pressure, but that's the extent of home care services. Right? The biggest benefit you get from this service is cooking and cleaning, right? And moving from one place to another in your home, right? And that is a really vital thing at some point in time. And then they also will help you with moving from place to place. Yeah, it's still on here. It says transportation and escort services. That's not a really appropriate word, but anyways, you know what I mean. Transportation services. Yeah, they're going to move you to the doctor, to the hospital, to get medicine, that type of thing. Then there's home health care, which is a clinical model. It's a skilled nurse, basically. You'll have a physical therapist, occupational therapist, skilled nursing therapist. But it's anytime you have an open wound, right? A nurse will have to take care of you at that level. Now, people say, well, don't worry about me, Dan. I got Medicare. And yeah, that's true. Medicare has some limited benefit. And the limited benefit is based on up to 100 days a year. That's it. And it has to be prescribed by a physician, meaning a doctor has to say you need this care. Right? And it's not a long-term solution. How many of you have long-term care insurance? Okay, if you have long-term care insurance, that's a great thing. Please keep paying it, because at this point in time, you're going to want to. Right? Long-term care insurance is a vital thing that when we work with our clients and there's something at home, that's one of the first questions we ask: do you have long-term care insurance? Because people are trying to figure out if they're going to run out of money. And I bought my long-term care insurance when I was 50, and because I understand the value in it, I understand the value of money, and costs are going to rise over time. And so if you have it, please do that. Now, here's your tip. For those of you who have long-term care insurance, make sure that the person that will help you the most, which is typically your kids or a loved one, they know the long-term care insurance company, the phone number, and your account number. If they don't, you're stuck. All that money you put away is useless. Why? Because there's a 90-day look-back period. What that means is, let's put it this way, if you ever need long-term care insurance, where are you going to be? You're going to be in a hospital. That's where it starts, right? And then the doctor is going to say you're going to need it, therefore you're going to send a message to the insurance company to start that 90-day waiting period, okay? So just make sure the person who's going to help you knows your account number and the phone number of that long-term care insurance. So how much does it cost? Well, roughly home care is $24 an hour, and then home health care is $35 to $75 an hour. 24-hour care could run you $20,000 a month. Yeah. At that point, your home is not the most financially feasible option. It is an option. I mean, I have clients that are doing this because they got enough money to do it, but most of the population really, that's uncomfortable. Now, what should I do with your home? After you move out, what do? Well, you can rent it. That's one way you could do that. Most people don't, because they don't want to have to deal with managing that tenant. If you choose to rent it, we do what we call an asset performance test on all of your assets, just like we do for all your investment properties. And we measure it for you. We show you what your cap rate and cash-on-cash return is. We're going to show you if it makes sense to do it or not. In Hawaii, though, the math doesn't really make sense. You're better off taking that money, investing in something else, If you just put your money in an index, you're going to get 8%. Right? Your home, you're getting 2 to 3%. It really doesn't make economic sense to do that. Some are going to pass it to a family member. Be careful about that. You're not going to want to pass it while you're alive. The way you pass real estate is you keep it in your trust. And in your trust, it says, upon my demise, this person gets it. Why? Because there's this thing called capital gain tax that most people are not aware of. And this is one of the things we're training real estate agents all over the country on, is if you bought your home a long time ago, and it's pretty common, our clients have bought their home for like less than $100,000, now it's over $1 million. Yeah. Then if you put your son or daughter on title while you're alive, you've forced them to absorb your cost basis. This is called a carryover in cost basis, which means when they sell it, they're going to have to be responsible for all the gain. You just put a burden on them, and you didn't even know it. And I'm telling you this because there are people that did that, and I can't help them. The only way I can help them is if you, before you sell it, you do a 1031 exchange. But that ties your heir to having to buy something else. They can't just take the money and spend it. Right? It's a problem. It's a problem. Most people sell their home, and some will leave it vacant. That's probably the worst thing out of these 4 to do, because a vacant home, I call that a negative asset. It's an asset you own that's worth money that you keep putting money into and doesn't give you any money back. Why would you do that? That makes no sense. Unfortunately, there's thousands of people who have chosen to do that. Not by choice, but by default. There's so many people that just never figured this out. And as a real estate planner and real estate wealth advisor, this is what we do. We talk about options, we give you some choices, and you can make your own decision based on what matters most to you and your family. So what do I do in the rental properties? Well, number one is do nothing. You could do that. That is one option. You could keep it vacant. You can allow your loved ones to live there. There's no wrong in that. Right? And if you did that, you leave your loved ones in there. Be mindful, though, if you have, how many of you have children? Okay, how many of you made more than one? Okay, that's your fault. You and somebody else did that one day, and you got more than one child. Well, the reason I joke about that is because that's a reality. Because if you have only one child, you'll never have a family dispute. If you have more than one, the data says odds are you're going to have a dispute. Attorneys tell us this, that there's a good chance they're going to dispute. And so when you let one of your children live there, what happens? They assume it's theirs. Yeah. We have a client today that we're trying to help her because mom, dad lived in a home. They let the son move in. Dad died. The mom's in a care home. She's in a memory care facility today. The daughter is a trustee. The daughter ran out of money. Mom has no more cash. What does she have to do? Sell the house. How do we get him out of the house now? He thinks he owns it. The sheriff will come in the next 3 weeks to remove him. She had to file a petition. It's called a writ of possession to remove the son, to sell it, because she's the trustee. Her job is to take care of mom. But she can't take care of mom because she doesn't have any money. So she's got to sell it. And the son is refusing to leave. That will be a bad day. Because the sister was so kind to him. All of his life would feed him, take him food. And then now he's treating her like this. And it's a rough moment in their life. There's 2 clients that are doing this, the writ of possession. It's horrible. So if you let somebody live there, know that there's consequences with that, right? That you may not see today, but you will see at some point in time. You could rent it. You could do that. You could use it as a second home, which nobody really does. Or you can 1031 exchange that for more cash, or you can 1031 exchange it for supporting family out. So looking for the complete solution, like what do we do, is number one, the biggest challenge is, what do I do with my stuff? Right? You're going to have to downsize and declutter the home. At some point, if you want to leave that home, you're going to want to clear it out. You want to remove all the unwanted items, right? And you want to fix it up to sell it, and then clean it, stage it, and then this is what we do. This is what we became an expert at. 1,600 families we've helped over the years, much of which we've done this process. So if you're thinking of selling, but before you sell, make sure you know what your tax ramifications are. And again, most realtors will not tell you this. They don't, because the industry doesn't teach them how to tell you this. It's not their fault. They just rarely had that conversation. If you've owned a property, you've lived in 2 out of the last 5 years, the Internal Revenue will give you, they have an Internal Revenue Code 121 that says that they're going to give you $250,000 tax-free dollars. Married couple, $500,000 of tax-free dollars of the gain. Everything beyond that gain, you're going to be subject to capital gains tax on. If you have an investment property, something that you did not live in, 2 out of the last, by the way, if you had a home that you lived in and you moved out, after 3 years and a day, that's gone. That's gone. You have no other option. Now this is the only option you got after 3 years and a day, right? So keep that in mind. When people say, I want to move out, I'm just going to let my son sit there, okay, so be it. But if you need to sell that home, know that you're going to have a challenge down the road. The plans we create, ladies and gentlemen, is not for this month, next year. This is your lifetime. The plans that we create impact generations. The plans that we create are considering the people you love. It's not just about a sale of a real estate. It's about plans that's going to help you build wealth, protect that wealth, and then pass it on so you can pass on as much wealth as you can to be the best steward of wealth that you can. In the state of Hawaii, it's 7.25%. On the state level, federal government's up to 20%. If your adjusted gross income, it's called AGI, is over $400,000, which if you sell your home, likely it will be, you add another 3.8% on top of that. You're looking at about a 30% of your gain going to the government. Now, I love my government. I love my country. I love our state, but I love my family a little bit more. I don't know about you, but I'm going to find ways to prevent it. And so our mission is to prevent capital gains taxes from ever touching our clients' life and their family's life. So blessing your family with a pre-inheritance plan. This is something that we came up with probably about 15 years ago, where you can sell an investment property, do a 1031 exchange, buy another property for a loved one, your kids, grandkids. And your loved one can keep it. You're going to keep it in your name. You don't transfer the title to them. You keep it in your name, but they can live there. Upon your demise, it can go directly to them, tax-free. This is how you eliminate capital gains tax. Okay. So here's an example of it. True story. Mom had a $4 million apartment building. Mom and dad, they bought it a long time ago. It was probably like $700,000. It's $4 million today. Right? They bought it a long time ago. She doesn't want it anymore. It's worth a lot of money, but dad took care of the management of it and took care of the tenants and fixing it up, and now she's alone. She doesn't want to deal with it anymore. But she goes to the CPA, and the CPA says don't sell it because there's this thing called capital gain tax. That's going to be over $1 million of tax that you're going to give away from your family to the government. And she says, well, that's not fair. Yeah, you're right. So she says to me, what do I do? And I ask her a simple question. Do you need the income from this investment property to sustain the life you desire? And she goes, no, Dan, I don't need the income. I got enough money to last my life. And I said, so if you could bless your family, would you? She says, yeah, I'd love to do that. I said, so I'm just curious, when you're gone, who's going to get it? So, well, my kids will. I said, what are you waiting for? I said, what do you mean? Well, why would you hold on to it? I said, well, because I don't know of any other option. I'm going to show you an option right now. We helped her sell that $4 million property. We let her kids, George, Lucy, Grant, and Ann, be on the selection committee for the replacement property of the next asset. So she sells it, does a 1031 exchange, buys $4 million, sells $4 million, does a 1031 exchange, buys another $4 million, zero tax. We remove the burden of her ever owning that because she doesn't own it anymore. We remove tax from her life, and we remove the family disputes because the kids got to predetermine their inheritance. Ladies and gentlemen, I teach this all around the country, and financial planners and CPAs don't understand that it's possible. And we've been doing this for decades now. So if you've got family that you care about, you've got real estate you don't ever want or need anymore, and if you want to bless your kids today, there is a way out. A way out. So the kids, get to select the replacement. So George is in Vegas. George is one of those guys. He's a high roller. Lives in Vegas, drives fancy cars, fancy suits, expensive shoes. Guess what? George doesn't own real estate. He's been renting all of his life. George's 52 years old. He's never owned a property. Why? Because he's got bad credit and spends all of his money on stupid stuff. Sorry, not to be a judge, but yeah, he's not an investor. So he complains all the time to mom that I got to keep moving all the time because my landlord keeps selling the property. Now I'm stuck, right? So he's complaining, but mom doesn't know how to help him. Now she can, because we're going to go to him and say, George, you can find a replacement property up to $1 million. And in Vegas, you can buy a lot of property for $1 million. It stays in mom's name. When mom dies, he gets it tax-free. He can enjoy that now while mom's alive. For the next 10 years that mom's on the planet, he's saying thank you to mom because he got to live somewhere. Lucy is in the Bay Area. Lucy says, $1 million is really nice. It's very generous, but can't buy anything for $1 million in the Bay Area, right? That's $2 million. So we asked Lucy, can you get a mortgage for $1 million? She goes, oh yeah, I can get a mortgage. I say, okay, then you can co-own it with mom. They sell the property, put $1 million into a property, and they own it 50-50. Mom and Lucy own it together. That qualifies for a 1031 exchange, no capital gain tax. And Grant and Ann, the same thing. Right? This is a pre-inheritance plan. This is a pre-inheritance plan that what happens when mom goes and she passes, all these assets get passed on to the kids that have been predetermined who it's going to go to. Is there a fight now? No. Is there any burden of mom having to manage anything? No. Is there tax? No. We solve all of her problems. And this is a movement. This is a movement that we're passing around the country. And that's why Julie and I, my wife and I, are traveling so much we're on a mission. We're on a mission to keep families together. We're on a mission to keep the money in their families because money is good for the good it does. So the question for you is, what good do you want it to do? You get to decide. See, most people don't realize that real estate can be unlocked. The wealth in your real estate can be unlocked and could be repositioned to something that matters more to your family, more to the people that you love, to the people you're going to give it to anyways. Why would you wait? Why would you wait and create problems where you can be proactive and solve those problems and bless your family? Now, every Christmas when everybody comes home and the grandkids come home, they say, give Grandma a hug and say, thank you, Grandma, for blessing us. Wouldn't you rather have that versus knowing when you're gone at the funeral your kids are fighting over real estate? Because I've been to a lot of funerals. Our clients, we have a lot of older clients. I've been to a lot of funerals. And the kids, most of the time, aren't talking. You want your kids to do that? It's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. It's an epidemic that we see, and we're on a mission to help you change that. So when should you start planning? The best time to plan is today. You're going to get an opportunity to sign up for a free strategy session. We're willing to donate an hour. I'm willing to donate an hour of my time to the benefit of you and your family at no cost and no obligation. As long as you give us an opportunity to earn your business, that's all we ask. Right? We're not going to make you do anything right now. We're making you think about a plan that makes sense for you and your family. And if you want to do that, we're open to helping you. And I do this all over the place, all over the country, because this mission is a real deal. This is a problem of planning. And families aren't planning well enough today. Oh, is that it? That's the last slide we have. I know I gave you a lot of information. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry it was not really, it's a real conversation that's sometimes real tough. Like, I talk about death every day. You know why I talk about that? I'm not because I'm morbid or anything. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I know I'm good where I'm going, and I'm hoping one day you are too. And if you need help, please see us around that. But more importantly, that's a guarantee. See, there's only 2 guarantees that I know of. That world of professional world tells you never to use the word guarantee. I'm going to give you 2. Number 1 is I guarantee you there will be a day that you and I will leave this planet. I guarantee you we're going to die one day. Can we agree to that? Okay, so we agree we're going to die one day. Here's the second guarantee. The date of the last surviving spouse is the date of transfer of wealth. That's a guarantee. So my question to you is, what's your plan? See, if you don't have a plan, you're a statistic. You're going to be one. Going back to the proactive and reactive human, you get to choose today. Today is your day to choose if you want to be proactive or reactive. And if you want to be proactive, we'll be open to donate some of our time for your proactive plan. These plans could be years long. These plans are not days or weeks or months. Some of our plans are 6 years long because that's what we do. We actually do real estate wealth planning every year for our clients. Why? Because life changes. Now, for those of you who have a financial planner, do you go in every year? Do you go into a doctor every year? Some of you do. Why? Because life changes. And plans sometimes have to change based on your need and desire and your family and health. So that's all I have for you today. Oh, good, I made it. It's 12:30. Any questions? Yes, Barbara.
You showed the model where beneficiaries inherited a 1031. So how does that 1031 work for them, like an inherited 1031?
Oh yeah, so if you did a 1031 exchange and then you passed away, your kids get it tax-free. Their cost basis goes away. There is no tax. Upon death.
No obligation for the 1031
Zero.
requirements?
Gone. They can do anything they want with it. Upon your demise, they can do anything they want, as long as you keep it in your trust during that time period. Yeah. Once you put their name on top, game's over. It doesn't matter if it's 1%. It doesn't matter if it's one day before you die. That's a bad deal. Now they're going to have to pay all the gain and all the tax in that gain.
Yeah, I'm not asking about the capital gains tax. I'm asking about the requirements of a 1031 exchange.
Yeah. So you're saying that if you did a 1031 exchange, is that right? Is that the scenario?
Yeah.
And then you passed away,
Yeah.
your kids get it tax-free. All the capital gains is washed.
I know capital gains, but the 1031 requirements while I'm alive is I have to reinvest it in 1031.
Yes.
So you showed a model where they invested it in their own homes,
But you still own it.
but there's no 1031 restrictions on when they want to sell it.
No, well, remember, you own it. So it's not about them, it's about you.
I mean, after I die.
Again, remember, after you die, there's no tax. That's why I'm saying I guarantee you we're going to do it. And I guarantee you that's the best time to transfer wealth, is upon death. Because there's no tax at that point.
The 1031 requirements are erased.
Yes. Well, remember, you're gone. The 1031 is attached to you.
Oh, okay.
When you're gone, you're gone. I'm sorry, that didn't sound so good, but you get the point, right? Yes.
So because it was a 1031 exchange, does this mean that you are treating it as a rental to your children?
Yeah. There's a couple
They have to pay you
rules.
something.
They actually don't have to be paying you something. You have to pay the income tax as if they were paying you, though. So there's a lot of these little steps that we've built over the years. It's white labeled to make sure that you don't get audited.
And second question, you keep talking about you're moving them into the trust. Do you also facilitate that?
We have trust. I'm not a trust officer, or not an attorney. We have attorneys that will help you with that. Yeah, there's a lot of attorneys in town. There aren't very. I shouldn't say this. What's the best way to say this? In your trust document, the problem that most of you have, you always have trusts, right? Many of you. Okay, here's your thing. Here's your homework. Go home and read it, and tell me what it says. I can tell you already what it says. I would bet almost all of you it says, upon my demise, my kids share it. That's the problem. There's one attorney in town that we advocate with that is our partner that puts a time period on it.
What do you mean?
The property must be sold within 24 months. See, because then the trustee has to follow the instructions. There's not like, oh, when do we do it? They're required by law to fulfill that. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the best thing to do. I mean, if you want it the simplest route, put a time frame on it by which it has to be executed on. Yeah. We also have a class called I'm a Trustee. Now what? Sounds weird. I'm not an attorney, but there's 21 things your trustee needs to know. And so I don't know when we're doing that class, but we'll probably do that again in the next month or so. Why did I do that class? Is because we had so many clients saying, my mom died, I'm a trustee, what do I do? And so I had to go do the research. So I did. I vetted 3 law firms, and I put a program together, and that's what we teach. We teach your heirs, the trustees, how difficult this job is. It's scary. Has anybody been a trustee? Well, yeah. That's a fun day, right? Yeah, that's horrible. Yeah. No, it's messy. It's a messy mess. Yeah. So we have a class for that. Right. Sorry, we didn't have it yesterday. But there's a class. There's 21 things that your trustee needs to know. We can teach them. And if you just want a side conversation around that, we can definitely meet with you and your family. We do a lot of these. I'll do 1 to 3 appointments a day with people every day while I'm on island because we care. Yeah. Any other questions? Is the food ready? Okay, food's almost ready. Well, the guys have clipboards. They're going to come around and ask you. There's no pressure, but if you want to book an appointment, there's some times in the next 3 months that I'll have available. I'm going to donate an hour of my time for you and your family, but if you want to, there's no pressure. But if you'd like to, you can set that up. Other than that, the food's here. Thank you very much for coming.